好，欢迎来到赞分享，一个严肃活泼的知识分享频道。今天要给大家分享的是周末特别节目最美英文，这是第3集，梭罗的瓦尔登湖寂寞。瓦尔登湖是梭罗在瓦尔登湖林中2年零2个月的生活和思想记录。在这里，他花费了大量的时间和精力观察鸟类、动物、花草、树木还有湖水的变化。这个瓦尔登湖畔的隐居者带我们进入自然，让我们得以在喧哗之中拥有一份宁静和孤独。亨利·戴维·梭罗是美国作家、哲学家、超验主义代表人物，也是一位废奴主义及自然主义者，有无政府主义倾向。瓦尔登湖是他的代表作，记载了他在瓦尔登湖的隐逸生活。如果大家喜欢我的频道，记得点赞和订阅哦。下面我们就开始吧。
Solitude by Henry David Thoreau. Men frequently say to me, I should think you would feel lonesome down there and want to be nearer to folks. Rainy and snowy days and nights especially. I am tempted to reply to such. This whole earth, which we inhabit, is but a point in space. How far apart, think you, dwell the two most distant inhabitants of yonder star, the breadth of whose disk cannot be appreciated by our instruments? Why should I feel lonely? Is not our planet in the Milky Way? This which you put seems to me not to be the most important question. What sort of space is that which separates a man from his fellows and makes him solitary? I have found that no exertion of the legs can bring two minds much nearer to one another. I find it wholesome to be alone the greater part of the time. To be in company, even with the best, is soon wearisome and dissipating. I love to be alone. I never found a companion that was so companionable as solitude. We are for the most part more lonely when we go abroad among men than when we stay in our chambers. A man thinking or working is always alone. Let him be where he will. Solitude is not measured by the miles of space that intervened between a man and his fellows. The really diligent student in one of the crowded hives of Cambridge College is as solitary as a dervish in the desert. The farmer can work alone in the field or the woods all day, hoeing or chopping, and not feel lonesome, because he is employed. But when he comes home at night, he cannot sit down in a room alone at the mercy of his thoughts, but must be where he can see the folks and recreate, and, as he thinks, remunerate himself for his day's solitude. And hence, he wonders how the student can sit alone in the house all night and most of the day without ennui and the blues. But he does not realize that the student, though in the house, is still at work in his field and chopping in his woods, as the farmer in his, and in turn seeks the same recreation and society that the latter does, though it may be a more condensed form of it. Society is commonly too cheap. We meet at very short intervals, not having had time to acquire any new value for each other. We meet at meals 3 times a day and give each other a new taste of that old musty cheese that we are. We have had to agree on a certain set of rules called etiquette and politeness to make this frequent meeting tolerable, and that we need not come to open war. We meet at the post office, and at the sociable, and about the fireside every night. We live thick, and are in each other's way, and stumble over one another. And I think that we thus lose some respect for one another. Certainly, less frequency would suffice for all important and hearty communications. Consider the girls in the factory, never alone, hardly in their dreams. It would be better if there were but one inhabitant to a square mile, as where I live. The value of a man is not in his skin that we should touch him. I have a great deal of company in my house, especially in the morning, when nobody calls. Let me suggest a few comparisons that someone may convey an idea of my situation. I am no more lonely than the loon in the pond that laughs so loud, or than Walden Pond itself. What company hath that lonely lake, I pray? And yet it has not the blue devils, but blue angels in it, in the azure tint of its waters. The sun is alone, except in thick weather, when there sometimes appear to be two, but one is a mock sun. God is alone, but the devil, he is far from being alone. He sees a great deal of company. He is legion. I'm no more lonely than a single mullein or dandelion in a pasture, or a bean leaf, or sorrel, or a horsefly, or a bumblebee. I'm no more lonely than the Mew Brook, or a weathercock, or the North Star, or the south wind, or an April shower, or a January thaw, or the first spider in the new house.